I see
Welcome
you.
back to it. It's
Yeah.
Inside the Tribe. And sorry for that short break. We needed to fix a couple of technical stuff. And obviously, Nayo Kama, Q had to go and attend to an emergency. But we made a plan and got another Q to come through and join us.
Yo,
He's
bro.
normally the guy.
Why do I feel like the light?
So we have another Q. He's the guy behind everything visual. So he's here and today. He's and on camera. How do
On
you feel
camera,
about
man.
that?
This is nerve wracking, bro. Like I always stand behind the camera and I'm like, yeah, you're just doing your thing. But then sitting here, there's so much pressure, man. The lights and the eyes, all those, they don't blink.
Now, welcome to our world. Let's rock.
Let's go. Let's get it.
We need to finish up this one, of course. And
Yeah.
going back to the conversations. The second topic. It was a pretty simple one. We already touched on it Gogosing apart before we even started as well. So essentially, and we've had this with this conversation before because of Gobe Ndicela, but here's a that you can give me so I can start reading again.
Yeah,
Because I haven't been reading in I don't know since when, bro.
Bro, like also the conversation off camera earlier on, like it got me thinking. The books, okay, I've got quite a lot of books, but then those which are like immediately available and which are in my eye and which I'm looking to read soon are self-help books. I do have novels, but like in this Born and Jay, they're just there for the aesthetic. I'm like, okay, nah. But then most of them, even like PDFs on my phone, self-help. Or it has to be some sort of information that I need to utilize later on.
Yeah, man, I think we were sort of wired like that. So to bring context into the conversation, it's essentially derived from saying it's basically self-help versus novels. And how that a lot of male figures don't necessarily read a lot of novels.
Yeah.
And for me to sort of backtrack or to give background, last year I was working at some underground booksellers in Joburg, and then obviously Pana Epridge Books. I realized that males don't enter the store as often as women, because I know in South Africa even the states can support that. I stand corrected now, but from last year, black females were the leaders in terms of like ufunda and buying books in South Africa, and obviously. Maybe that plays a part in that, but what we've seen quite a lot is like a lot of males do tend to go for self-help, and I think it's a great time to explore that. Why choose self-help over in novels?
Maybe now that you've given that is dope context, man. Female, someone said that we shouldn't refer to them as females. Women. Women. Women, they are a little bit more open. I think after reading e-novels, they do reflect, and they've got a community which is already, even in the book reading community, there are spaces whereby you can go reflect on a certain book and everything. And I don't see a lot of men in those circles. Maybe I also stand to be corrected, but then I don't see a lot of men like sitting around and saying that, no, John, and then he went through this. Oh, that was terrible, man. He could have done it this way. Men like are trying to like fix things now. You understand? Women have got time to reflect. They get emotional about the situation. Men are not trying to like get sucked up in a novel and being like connected to this character, feeling how the character is feeling, and then saying, how do I feel about that? Man, what I feel right now is that I need some money. If I've got a book which can help me get some money, if I've got a book which can like help me lock in, focus, if I've got a book which can teach me how to groom myself better, you understand? Because like the reality is when I step outside, story John, it might be very relevant for me emotionally, but then according to thought process, I'm saying, like, I need to be a better man when I step outside. This book is going to help me. Story John is going to give me a perspective. John went through this and that and that and that and that. Okay, now, me I get power John. I still got a problem at the end of the day. Story John I think it's a very shallow way of looking at things, but I feel like that is what is happening.
Speaking of, so firstly start by saying, speaking of Indoland, what I was thinking about was that as much as we do read a lot of self-help books, but the most memorable books are novels in our life. And
Novels.
also from a
Yeah.
foundational point of view, even in school, it's typically novels with great context and great depth that actually
Depth.
is able to sort of teach us some things. For instance, because I was studying with the Great Gatsby, we a lot of like Shakespearean stuff, the Macbeths. It's essentially novels, but with depth and something to learn in that story. And I was even making an example, Yendoba. The reason why, it's not the main reason, but one of the reasons why the Bible is such a very universal um, book and like a teaching book is because of this actual, like we learn much better when there's a story
Story
involved. So
involved.
if you bring context, because what one thing I can say is with self help at times, even though they are very impeccable, the context of that, what that man has lived or your perspective like, might be different from mine. For
From
instance,
you,
I'll make an
yeah.
example. Let's say like a Robert Greene. I don't know where he's from. Maybe he's like a middle aged white guy who grew up, let's say in Chicago with a family that was middle class, etc., 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 etc. Some of the stuff that he speaks about or he thinks could work for him could not potentially work for me. Because let's say, for instance, this is just for argument's sake or
Yeah.
for the sake of the podcast. Maybe Robert Gnatiba, you need to get married at by 25 because that's how you build. I got wrong.
I got
Maybe he's
wrong.
right
Yeah.
because of how he context it. But then when we bring it into our context, you're like, okay, at the age of 25, maybe I'm just freshly off varsity, looking for a job, maybe find a job. There's another things to sort of nuances that you can bring into that.
Bring
But
into that.
ekhaya kabantengele moto. So i-dynamics zam mna nibani man benomntana ne-family are a bit problematic because
Problematic,
zokhwela
yeah.
iteksi nentoni. Ekhaya, they don't even have enough money. I still have to send money and build back home. So there's a lot of nuances
Nuances, yeah.
and perspective that sort of like bleeds kwezazi zinto zingela hlobo, where it's like a novel, you take what you take
You take what you take.
and then move on.
That is so true, bro. You mentioned Uba, like let's say him or Robert Greene saying Uba, you gotta get married at 25. We take it as capital. We say, "Bana, this is how it's supposed to be," and it puts the pressure on the reader now.
Yeah.
And now most of these books, unlike like you've just mentioned right now, but like in novel, you can just pick it up and then delve into that world. You don't need to be part of it. You can be literally observing. Yes, you can get sucked into the situation and be like, yo, get emotional and everything about it. It can really influence how your day goes, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you've still got the leg room to step back and say, Ubana, like, I'm not part of this. Whereas the self-help books, like, they draw you in. You feel like a pressure, Ubana, yo, machi.
This is a rule.
It's a rule. Wake up at 5, sleep at 8 type of vibe. And then when you're not doing that, subconsciously you feel like a weight of some sort. And then also there's that thing which you also mentioned, Uba, like we don't, for myself, I don't really go and do the homework most of the time. And it's only occurring to me right now, but I don't check the background yalom cheater. Or of course I do read everything about the author and everything, but I don't take it into account about Lomchita grew up in a time like this. This is the situation he was in when he wrote the book. This is where he is right now. I area asuka kuyo, he's from the States. Economies zethu zahlukile. Yabo. So I am trying to fit and walk in shoes which are not made for this terrain. So
Exactly
I
my
think
point,
there is some certain leg room which we need to exercise when we're reading his self-help books. Whereas in novels, it's a little bit more safe and it's something which we need to be really getting into. But I really don't know, Ubana, like, why is it, Ubana, most guys are really going into his self-help books? Is there something which is going on socially which we need to pay attention to?
Yeah, man. I guess these authors, it's essentially, I look at it as mentorship. So we look up to these guys because of they saying like, and it's also like a power patriarchal thing that we are looking for as gents, where it's like you said, 48 laws of power will make you a better man. And that's what we look for, Tina Singamajita, more than an extensive vocab or reading because like Lindo's
Okay.
in novels like an extensive vocab. There's a lot of things that you can get from a novel, and for reading for entertainment as well. Because of with self help, sometimes you'd find like I don't like andingumdo enjoyayo ufunda, but I'm just there for the information.
You're there for the information and
You
you're
get
like,
what I'm saying? Like,
really?
I'm trying to get to the next level, like how you put it as well. It's like it's always a thing of how do I better myself? Do I listen to podcasting as a nigga knowledge?
The
Do I learn a
knowledge.
new skill? Do I go to university? Like it's always like practical based where how you explain. I don't want to but you did explain it better to sort of say about singamajita orientation too is always that Kwelondo. So yeah, I think there's a great point that you raised about no man, let's leave some leg room to understand the context of Nyumjita okanye lo muntu usuka phi for us to learn that.
I really wish they could write self-help books like novels of some sort. Yabo, like try to blend it into a story of some sort. Besides the story sakhe lamjita. But yeah, no, that is
No, ngibona ndiyacinga about incwadi that are like Sanzu, what's that? The auto like
out of all, yeah.
so there's books that have already exist, but most yazo zindala. So even the context is a bit shaky and it moved a little. But those books then they're nice because of there's stories of war and like there's there's
Story.
anecdotes in the book.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously the wisdom in that story
That.
as well, which is great for us to learn. Whereas nowadays, maybe a guy could be like a marketing guru and it's like, okay, I have like 10 years in this field and this is what I've studied and whatever. I'll give you 10 books on how to be a great marketing dondon. We in podcasting, you'll take that book, we found. But now, as you know that we spoke about the context of where this guy is from and as his balang and whereas I think then as a self-help zifana neza hlobo, they worked better.
They work better.
But I do believe though it would be nice to have abantu who write izindo with especially African stories. If you can use the context of Ushaka or King Yamaxhosa or Ndondon and then take that, look for a wisdom bar
Yeah.
and package that well. Maybe a lot of men could, because it's an interest of ours as well. Like Bauno Tata London and read a book about Ushaka and then wisdom nuggets of
wisdom coming from there.
I think that would work better. But and you expect, but I think maybe that
Yeah.
could get us to be more interested and read maybe a lot more because as gents we don't read.
I think that goes back to if we are going to have those stories in future, how many, just a side note, how many gents like really journal? Because how true is the story going to be if we do not have a basis of, but I wish maybe there was a scribe next to Ushaka who was always writing down what Ushaka said. That would have worked very nice. A form of e-journaling. I think that also goes to say, Obana, I think if e-gents start reading more novels, we will get to a point whereby we also maybe might have to journal because that's what women do
A lot better, yeah.
Women journal, bruh, and I always every second woman that I've met, they write down the thought process, how their day went and where maybe they want to see themselves. Tina as gents, we're winging it. Yeah, but you wake up, but
Hit the crowd running.
Swiftile, bro.
That's funny.
So, like, I feel like that just opens up a conversation which can branch out into something else. But yeah, man, I think next time when we meet, I'll tell you about a novel that I've read. I definitely need to pick up.
I'll pick a novel, even if it's a PDF, and then get right into it. But yeah. Another topic that we need to touch on. Shout outs to QC for writing this down. I'll do the best. I do the best of my ability to sort of like execute this one. So he was essentially talking about Boyagwe Summers and the relevancy of awards in 2024, especially. So I wanna hear your take on that. Do you think it's a thing that still should exist and it's a thing that still holds value in the industry?
Yeah, look, Umna, like I'm very much isolated now from a certain mainstream media of some sort because like I really depend on the internet for most of my stuff. So being something which is going to be formally presented to the nation as awards, I'm not sure if it's really holding a relevance because look, Anna TV, like to say about like I am going to tune in. If I don't see it on the internet, I won't have even known about the summers were taking place. I've even lost track about when exactly do the summers like dialable. Whereas as a person who's like into the industry stuff and entertainment and media and all that, I need to know these things. But then it just for me it draws a narrative maybe they should explore a better way of putting it out to the people. And are the artists born are still finding relevance in it? After, I think, personally, after the whole Ricky Rick thing, the attitude yabantu towards the awards has been, we might not talk about it, but I feel like what Ricky Rick said during the award thing
Metro, yeah, I remember
ceremony,
at the metros.
it was the
Listen to
metros.
the kids, yeah.
Listen to the kids type of thing. But like whoever is being given an award, there isn't like genuine merit behind it. And I think most artists now, but they took that and they ran with it. And off camera, I think QC also mentioned something about someone not pitching up for the award. I mean, like that should be very much important. Ubana like umchita naye apiche, get seen, receive the award, say something. Understand? Or even just go to the stage and pick up that award. That would give a significance to the ceremony in itself, and also paint a certain picture for all the upcoming artists to say, "But I want to be on that stage." Right now, I don't think ubana like artists are seeing it as if ubana, oh yeah, award, oh no, it's just award. No, you guys recognize me. Maybe you don't even play my sound on the radio. We are have I put myself in a position ubana like umculo wam now ube radio? People are not even looking at your hierarchy. Like, how do you get to these awards? Because people who are really dope don't seem to be getting the awards. So, like, why should anyone be involved, and why should I be even watching these awards? If I think Usbani was dope, Tina is a collective, let's say, for example, maybe we feel like Nasty C was the dopest this year. When Nasty C angaifumani lo merit. Hence, I was asking like, is this really according to the people? Or there is someone who's tweaking yonke lento le yenzekayo. So nah.
I think in some cases it's, let's say, because I know with the SA hip hop, but I'm not too sure with the actual percentage. There was the voting phase of things, and then there's obviously then a board of people that sit down, like industry experts who sit down and then sort of pinpoint who, like, but then the criteria, but okay, this person sales wise, impact wise, this, and that.
Oh, okay.
They did better in that, and then they obviously pick Lomdu and then mesh that up with the numbers. Because it's a very tricky thing because of like, like I'm a gatekeeper game, like because it's like leaving things up to Abandu. People are very, I'm looking for the right word to use, like biased.
Biased, okay.
So if I like Aries, especially Aries fans, like if whatever it drops to them is the best,
it's the best,
hip hop album. So if you just solely running something based on in numbers and difference got Aries, they can outvote another person who just creatively and sonically made better music in that particular era or whatever, and did more impact outside of the 80s fans. So it's a tricky thing to leave things up to Ilando. Hence, it's always like relative in terms of, are they fair because of we like this and that. I feel traditional institutions like the awards, radio, and all these things should still exist, because to me, what that proves that it sort of like narrows out like gap of a difference between an upcoming artist and a guy who's arrived. Because then we start ticking the boxes about, like, we then start to gatekeep whoever's dope is gonna make it here.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
it's an industry standard.
It's an industry standard.
Yeah,
it's essentially quality control. So if you send umculo wako on radio, dog, you need to have an MP3 radio edit,
and then you have the clean
clean version, dog, and your song is nice, and you sent the song. at 5 FM. You hip hop dude. Why? What are you doing sending yourself at 5 FM? Because you know they don't play that stuff. But if you send it at Y or whatever,
Yeah.
and then obviously Umdo Mamele Pana would hear, okay, this is dope. Let's have this, and then
Right.
the people will decide. For me, I really feel like institutions should still exist, and also I think for the artists' gain is very important because what I think of artists is honor gain from Ilendo, it's leverage from awards. So that's why it's like Grammy Award nominated. Umnaka winanga, but
that nomination you got considered. We see you.
Exactly. So when I approach now brands Mang Mang and say I'm a Grammy Award Ndondo, and I'm able to leverage and get, let's say, more money, more Ndondo, and you can bump the cheese up. So it's a great tool to have Ilendo industry to say Tyler now is a Grammy Award winning artist. I'm no longer charging 150K, it's 250K. So it makes sense in that aspect. But not everyone is always going to be happy. Like even Kwakdala, like I was asking a lot of like.
But I feel like the opinion back then was a little bit more in the gray. You could actually see when I really deserved it. It was a close one. Okay, Mhlambi Ute wa winner because he got more votes, but then they were almost there. Some of these awards, bruh, like it's just an echo. When did it really hit hard? Almost like we also mentioned Uba, like we're not like us at the where was it? Where was it? The VMAs or
Yeah, the VMAs Utah QC, they got nominated for
they got nominated, but then it didn't get anything. Someone like me who's not really paying attention to mainstream media, like I would have expected to know like Subana to win that award because of the noise it made on the ground. Like I'm hearing everywhere I go, it's they not like us. But at the end of the day, there is a system which is in place, which is working. So I might have to change my mind on saying, like I think it is relevant into your awards. It's very important. At the end of the day, we are creatures which thrive on
validation.
Validation. You know, bro, like you step out and someone tells you, "Yo, bro, you look good." You're like, really?
That does something to you, bro.
Shout. Not really that I need to build a dependency on it. That's the only thing which I think most artists, or maybe like, let me speak for myself. I was now starting to think, no, it's just a validation, man. It's nothing very important. But then you brought out a point, like it's something which you can use also out there. When you step out to people, you're like, oh, no, I've been recognized by so and so and so and so. So it builds upon your credibility. So yeah, I think we need to take awards seriously and see how it can better.
So guys, don't listen to Ricky Rick to its entirety. Like, and I'm not trying to learn. Lupo Song is like a legend, bro. But what I'm saying is that whole Metro rant was also a little bit out of context in terms of how people, maybe it's not his fault, but so when Ricky Rick is saying, dog, like F radio, man, we can swear here, man. Hey, fuck radio. That's not my sentiment because I wanna be on radio. Yeah, well, so if he says fuck radio or like fuck mainstream media, whereas Upo Songa was charting on the radio, he was doing the interview, he was submitting the songs. And then so he
maybe say that after you've introduced the youngins to the system.
Because of okay, cool. SoundCloud made especially at that time, SoundCloud was growing, and a lot of artists felt like if I exist on the internet, that's enough. But you needed that South African crossover because we need to be honest. If you say the future is on the internet, like you said, when Mbugela Iland, that's a little bit of privilege to have. Because you have Wi-Fi, you have all these things. Bro, like a normal South African watches SABC One.
SABC One, TV.
So when they're watching awards, the Babugele Omakati, that's their thing. So we're now in the privilege of listening to these guys and and not having a full view of or like a full scope of the South African market.
Yeah, it's bro. Totally privileged because at the end of the day, like I see it as if like, oh, bruh, I do not watch TV and all that. People who are watching TV, it's broadcast. It's set in a program. Bahamba nge program, abantu clean. Whereas umna, like I'm picking drips and drabs of what I want to watch. It's more tailored, so it really is a privilege, and very important point, Geleo. Yeah, yo.
Yeah, and moving along, man. There's also a tweet I saw of this guy. On well, obviously it's X now. Why am I saying tweet? A post on X. Ongasolveki. This guy said, so there's this girl that he's like, and I'm paraphrasing. So this guy is saying, call him Nana, who he likes very much, fits all the criteria and ticks all the boxes he has. But the only reason he's not gonna stick around is because this woman's English is not the one. And what I mean by that, she's not as fluent as he would like her to be, or is not like maybe she can't. I'm assuming at this point, to bring context, Mkamlan Abam can read and write. That's a standard.
I
So
like
that,
what you
yeah.
said. You said it's not the one though.
Yeah, that's for his level.
For his level, yeah.
For his level, Mhlambi, she's not as. Let's take fluency is the right word to use. Maybe
All
she's
right.
not fluent. So it's a conversation that QC was laughing and you also laughed about. And I would like to hear your thought, like in because I resonated with the guy. I'm like, good in fact, but let me hear from you.
There is an element of fluency for me. Okay, I think I'm now a little bit open to conversations as inje, and also taking whichever side. In the sense, I'm now okay with fluency not being like up to par, not being private school, or maybe just sometimes fluency. I'm not like I take myself, but fluency is just I'm almost I do have like an accent. So I'm not sure again. Like, are we talking about ubana une accent xa ithethe English yakhe, okanye like when it just comes to general articulation, there is a problem there. But whatever the case may be, I think I can accommodate a bit of both.
Just so we can have the conversation running.
I think I can deal with it. I think I can take it to a certain extent. It matters, bro. Because maybe uzawufuna ukubana uthi go into certain spaces, because to a queen. Indulge with, just mingle with the crowd. Man can English, and I'm just going to talk to someone real quick. Kumane kuqanjwa apha kuye, because like there is no so it kind of plays on to some social value yakho, and also bleeds to the commercial side if you've got a partner ongakwazi ukuzibeka kahle in the most general language.
Yeah.
But for me,
that's very nice to say.
Yeah, bro, because like they should be able to hold a conversation about even naxa umjongile pha ukude uthetha namajita kwelicala umane ulahla imehlo pha ubona, oh no, it seems as if, hey, but if you see every 1 minute abantu, they cannot even like linger. It's currency to you as a G, not to be misogynistic or anything. In as much as guye naye, when ungubaba ume pha funin, like, nailing all the points in English, and abahlali nabo there. I think this is a rabbit
hole. Let's explore it. We have a bit of time.
Okay, in this sense, like, she would also take pride in that. It is something which is there. At the end of the day, we cannot turn a blind eye. I won't mind. I think it can be worked.
Can be worked. Okay, cool. Nah, that's fire.
I think it can be worked.
Nah. Hey, I think it's very important. Like, I'm not even looking your way if you can't. And especially from let's say like a serious romantic relationship, maybe just for the casual what, because then you don't, like, you're not even an extension of my representation then. Come on. Then the asba indo yam now iphelela pa good. If then you have to be my girlfriend, then it's it's a prerequisite essentially. Because of, bro, lendo buyithetha about, if you bring your girls, it's just that we're having a young bro, we're chillers, and then kawanjwa. Icherga onik itlal onik yo, I'm not no cute. just one nigga not too long ago. Remember when you were telling me as you story not bananas on Lloyd. As I come hand in the yeah, as is 1 years. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
so bro, like niggas are like about young I but okay, y'all are fire, but like he points in
Kuzothiwa yo umhlela mntana.
but akakwazi uthetha
Well,
then.
it kind of happened with Babes Odumo. Remember Babes Odumo?
Babes,
Yo,
Odumo,
Babes,
Babes,
bruh.
Babes,
Yo,
Odumo.
Babes,
Like
bruh.
the country was
The
not
country.
letting her chill, bro. So like, it's very important, and also it's like to be PC. It's fine that wonke umuntu nento yakhe that they hold higher in terms of ilendo, criteria for them to date, or something they treat as a standard.
Standard,
But it's
yeah.
like, short guys, nah. Dark skin guys or light skin guys, whatever. And women have these things quite a lot. But there's standards, so that's why when I saw that and I was like, yeah, hey, put your foot down, black man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, like I'm not gonna lie. That's the thing because of I've been in spaces like you don't want your girl like that whole social currency, social value. Kudlalwa 30 seconds up yambona mnana bantu like uncomfortable.
Bro, you're really narrowing it down now.
Yeah, well, so
Yeah,
it's
but-
like if it to kadlale now, like if I'm with teammates, let's win this thing. Hey,
Let's
now
win this.
Yako, Ilendo, and also we also in the entertainment, so like networking space. So if you're rolling with your hand, could event in the Tile, she needs to at
Be
least
able
hold
to,
a
yeah.
conversation and on. So I do hold that higher. And just one more before we wrap things up. On we still almost a pleasure to have. Okay.
Check it out,
Yeah, just to stretch it a little. The Kumbulake woman Basel QC of another chick I was nice with some ages ago, Wayangumpedi. And she couldn't land. Expert is a bit difficult for me.
Yeah.
I hear a bit of Sutu and Tswane, and especially abantu abahlala eGauteng nabahlala ePretoria. It becomes a difficult thing when umhlambe Limpopo yabo because of like it's sort of hardcore.
Yeah.
So there was this chick, and she also wasn't really nice in English. Dog, it was very difficult for us to move.
We are born again if it's if
And there's a barrier.
If it's a barrier and it's messing up the chemistry, because the chemistry might be there as Obana, like even before we talk about
The attraction is there.
The attraction is there. But yeah, it must be smooth, man.
Yeah, because moving from one level to the next, sort of like flirting and chatting, and there's length. That's why I always say like I prefer closer goals more than anything because of even nobody and the English into this closer. There's certain things that she gets that I don't have to like translate or like over explain. So for me, it's always nice to have learned. But English now, I'm a bit comfortable with it as well because you will find sometimes there's a bit of sarcasm added here.
And that is very much important.
And it was a way of you to flirt, like, or you were testing something out. It's like a dance that you guys do, but they're born by, hey, this thing didn't land. And also now I'll move about it.
It kind of like puts you in a space whereby like you've got more tools than her. So it makes you feel as if you cannot use these with the person who you're involved with. About like English, like if you've got certain ways of expressing yourself, and most of them you've acquired them in English or during the day, the industry ukuyo, it's dealing. So how was your day? Now it's hard for you to explain. Because it was hella funny, but because the English cannot be well received.
I was the translator.
Direct translation. It's almost like for me when I first got to the Eastern Cape and I heard Afrikaans people like speak English. I was like, yo. Because it's direct translation. Yeah, but most of like they take straight from Afrikaans straight to English. So the English sounds a little bit So now when you're trying to take an idea from the English perspective, it was funny in English. And now I'm with us now in especially now they're not closer. They are awuyazi ke ngokubana I context yakhona how can you keep it wholesome? Ubana ade ayifumane. So a barrier, I think it's one thing which we really need to take into account. Kakhulu. Uba, can we communicate at least kakuhle thina sobabini? And English is the meeting point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So
I
gentlemen,
digress.
my advice to you, makakwazi uthetha English okanye ayeke.
Akakho nje.
Nathi sinento zethu abasibekela thina, we'll acquire them. If we can't, don't meet the criteria, it's fine. We'll move on to the next one. But yeah, anyway, man, I think we can wrap this one up.
Yeah.
It was a very nice one. A bit different.
A bit different, yeah.
Because we have someone from the other side joining the other side, this side, essentially. But yeah, man, that was nice.
Yeah, that was chill, man. Thank you for having me.
Shout out.